Her name is Eva Braun. She's Hitler's mistress. While she exercises by a mountain lake, millions of her lover's victims are agonizing all over Europe. From 1937 to 1944, Eva Braun shot a series of exceptional amateur movies. These films take us into the inner sanctum of the Third Reich, Hitler's chalet, the Berghof, the veritable decision center of the Nazi regime. In 1945, these unique documents will become spoils of war for the Allies' secret services and later serve as evidence in the trials of the regime's dignitaries. For the first time ever, we've brought together all the films. We are now ready to show them to you, after having subjected them to a detailed process of identification never done before. Eva Braun, an essential witness to Hitler's private life. In 1937, the world's at peace, or rather, on the brink of war. Berchtesgaden is a mountain resort village near Munich, in the south of Germany, in the Bavarian Alps. A few kilometers away is the Berghof. Hitler baptized it the Mountain Haven. The main setting of Eva Braun's films is the terrace, where Hitler receives company and where sometimes he rests. He's been Germany's supreme leader for 4 years now. Eva Braun, seen to the right, reflected in the window, films continuously, imagining that one day Hollywood will use her footage as the raw material for the Führer's life story. Being this close to the Führer is a great honor, and everyone is quick to obey him and to please him. His diplomatic advisor, Walter Huvel, on the right, shows him and the sculptor Arno Brecker the latest American camera, a gift for Eva. But the film is indeed German, the superb Agfacolor 16mm stock. Eva could film everything, historical figures like the architect Speer, here in the center of the circle of close friends. Everyone's been told to never speak of Eva Braun. She's the Führer's mistress, but it's a secret. He kisses her hand ceremoniously, as he does with all the women he meets. No one must speak of their affair. Hitler's personnel must remain discreet. The public must never know. Officially, she's one of his secretaries, but her salary is better than the rest. 1,000 marks, about $5,000 a month. Shooting these films gives her an excellent justification for staying close to the Führer on all occasions. The year is 1937. Hitler already spends a great deal of time at the Berghof. Eva Braun films to glorify him, without a thought to what he is doing or what he's preparing. For her, Hitler is an affectionate and caring man with whom she shares a love for animals. What's more, they're linked by a shared affection for Hitler's German shepherd, Blondie. He will kill Blondie in 1945 in a test of the efficacy of the cyanide capsules, which he will later use to commit suicide. Dogs are everywhere, cared for by his many servants. Eva Braun and Hitler have separate rooms. She must never call number 600. That's the Führer's room. He'll do the calling. He'll decide when they meet. Because Hitler's obsession with domination is firstly applied to women. Eva Braun must be submissive to him. Hitler has said, Nothing is more marvelous than to teach a young girl. At 18 or 20 years old, women are as malleable as wax. The man can make his mark on her, and the woman wishes nothing more than this. He doesn't want to marry her. He states that he's married to all of Germany and all Germans, to all those women who faint as he passes, women who are crying out, "Heil Hitler," as they reach orgasm or while giving birth, completely indifferent to the climate of hate that's spreading. For all German women, Hitler is a bachelor. But were there other women in his life before Eva Braun? Munich, 1929. Though he's embroiled in political struggles, Hitler relaxes with his niece, Gelli, who he's tutoring. She's 23, he's 40. She's fascinated by her uncle. She finds him strange, ambiguous. Hitler desires her and seems to play a perverse game with her. But his thirst for power is stronger and keeps him on course towards his goal, conquering Germany. This is where the photographer Heinrich Hoffmann plays a decisive role. He becomes a sort of communications director and coach for Hitler, a new concept in politics. Hoffmann is at all the Nazi rallies. He assists Hitler to develop his charisma, playing Wagner's recordings as they practice the speeches together. Hoffmann has a store in the center of Munich. In 1929, he places an ad for a secretary. A young girl of 17 answers the ad. Her name is Eva Braun. Fresh out of religious school, she hasn't any political convictions. She dreams of becoming an actress and going to Hollywood. Hitler meets her during one of his visits to the shop. He notices her resemblance to his niece Gelli, who he often thinks about. Eva Braun is fascinated by his brutal and dominating personality. He carries a whip with him. Hitler says, "The crowd is a woman, and the masses want to be dominated, just like wives do." Hitler knows how to master his crowd. He hypnotizes Germany. And he hypnotizes the German film star, Leni Riefenstahl. He sees her in the film The Big Jump and is attracted to her juvenile eroticism. She says that his speeches explode. They're so powerful and violent that they reach up to the heavens. Hitler courts her, but he's more obsessed with political power and refuses a serious relationship. Yet, he still harasses and sequesters his niece Gelli. She commits suicide on September 17th, 1931. But this doesn't keep Hitler from making Eva Braun his mistress, on the couch in his office. Some brief shows of tenderness, which will become less frequent. She's lost her virginity, a serious event at the time, and Hitler disappears from her life. In 1932, she attempts suicide for the first time. Hitler offers her a dog. Hitler crisscrosses Germany in a private plane during the first modern electoral campaign. Eva Braun doesn't see more of the man that, even in private, she calls Mein Führer. On January 30th, 1933, Hitler becomes the Führer, the chief, the Chancellor of Germany. Shortly after, on February 12th, Eva Braun turns 21. She's now an adult. He could marry her, but instead he leaves for Berlin. In just a few months, he imposes dictatorial rule and opens the first concentration camps. The persecution of the Jews begins. The swastika, which he transforms into a death symbol, becomes the German flag. He makes Leni Riefenstahl the official film director of the Third Reich, profiting from her talents and her fervor. She, in turn, gives him the chef-d'oeuvre of propaganda, The Triumph of the Will. The film helps to strengthen Nazism's hold on the public and converts followers all over the world. The rumor spreads that Leni Riefenstahl is Hitler's mistress. When invited to New York, a journalist asks very directly, "Are you Hitler's girlfriend?" She responds with a smile,
"Oh, that is only a newspaper story. It is not true."
Just a newspaper yarn.
Only a newspaper story.
How long have you known Mr. Hitler?
Oh, I know him since the year 32. 1 year before he would be Reich Chancellery.
On May 28, 1935, Eva Braun takes a full bottle of sleeping pills. She nearly dies, but she is saved. To calm her, Hitler offers her a small house in Munich. In 1936, she and her dog move into the house. She welcomes her family. In the beginning, she hid her affair from them. Her father, Fritz Braun, a woodworking teacher, is a rigid Protestant. Her mother, Franziska, the perfect homemaker, is Catholic and disapproves of premarital relations. They're an average German couple who don't display an outwardly fanatical belief in Nazism. Eva has two sisters. Ilse, the eldest, is an assistant to a Jewish doctor, and secretly she is his mistress. Later, he will escape Germany. Gretel, Eva's younger sister, who she's closest with, looks much like her. Eva Braun admires her sisters and hopes to prove that she can become an accomplished woman, that she can have a lover and get married. This is why she lets herself be seduced by Hitler. In Eva Braun, he sees the perfect example of the Aryan woman, blonde, healthy, and descendant of the pure race. She's fascinated, docile, and acquiescing. And she makes sure to never consider the horrors Hitler is perpetrating. She belongs to Hitler. She thinks, as most of Germany does, that he is an exceptional being. She is hypnotized by his eyes, always staring fixedly. In fact, he's afraid of the light. The probable cause is the gas attacks of the First World War. He wears glasses, but only in private. He also uses a strong magnifying glass. Eva Braun is also troubled by Hitler's voice, different than the voice he uses to shout his slogans. She's now solidly settled in to Hitler's private life and National Socialism. And so she wears the traditional Bavarian folk costume, displaying a local elegance. Unlike the sophisticated Leni Riefenstahl, who said of Hitler, "It's normal that he's with her. He prefers women like Eva Braun." sweet, and with big cow eyes. But Hitler has indeed chosen Eva Braun. She's the one who will be the privileged witness to the events to come. On March 13, 1938, Hitler succeeds with the Anschluss, the annexing of his native Austria. Western democracies don't move to counter him, which only encourages him in the worse. He feels invincible. He calls Eva Braun to join him, and they spend a luxurious night in Vienna's Imperial Hotel. She sends a postcard to her family, writing, "I'm mad with joy and pride." She's the conqueror's intimate companion. She films him as he returns to his little Austrian schoolhouse. He savors this unique moment and the thought of how far he's come. The sickly little boy, the failed painter, is now in history books, compared to Frederick II and Bismarck. Hitler also commissions the construction of a mountaintop keep, the Eagle's Nest, on Mount Kelstein, 6,000 feet above the Berghof. Its price is astronomical. A tunnel is bored into the mountain's flank and decorated with ceramic tiles. Inside, an elevator surfaced with polished brass climbs 124 meters up to the chalet. It opens onto this cloister of sculpted stone where Nazi dignitaries bring their children for high-altitude therapeutic cures. These criminals have lots of children, and they advise the German people to do the same. These children will make fine soldiers and fine SS. It's another typical day in the life of happy Nazi dignitaries. Hitler is in the only calm period of his life. It's a sort of interlude. He wants to shake up the situation and return to the principles laid out in Mein Kampf, where he wrote he'd come to make war. And for war, there must be hate. The Jews will be his scapegoat for stirring up this hate. Hitler's plan accelerates, and on November 9th, 1938, he and Goering order a massive pogrom with the sinister name of Kristallnacht. To create the illusion of a spontaneous uprising, SS troopers donned civilian clothes before burning 2,000 synagogues and Jewish-owned stores. Amused Nazi onlookers thought the smashing windows sounded like breaking crystal. 2,500 Jews are killed, 35,000 Jews are deported to Dachau and Buchenwald. It's the first terrible event of the Holocaust. It's now clear that his henchmen are committed to carrying out his murderous mission. Here, Eva Braun films Himmler and Heydrich on the terrace at the Berghof. Eva Braun tells her sister, "Himmler gives me the shivers." Himmler is commander of the SS, and Heydrich is the chief of the Gestapo. Specialists have deciphered their dialogue. "Nothing must distract us from our project," he says smilingly, referring to the extermination of the Jews. Eva Braun, unconcerned as always with the war and the Holocaust's ongoing horrors, takes pleasure in having her mother act for her camera in front of a Munich travel agency. The Braun family's leaving on a cruise in the north. Hitler has told Eva Braun to avoid exposing herself to the sun. It can cause skin cancer, he warns. Hitler was very affected by his father's alcoholism, and as a result, he's forbidden the drinking of alcohol in his presence. But as usual, while he's away, Eva Braun enjoys a party. She shoots her first full-length documentary, dreaming of rivaling Leni Riefenstahl. The atmosphere she captures when she returns to the Berghof is quite different from when she left. The SS Guard are in full regalia, as are the waiters on the terrace. She is witness to a turning point in history. All of the Nazi chiefs are summoned. Joseph Goebbels, head of propaganda and disinformation, arrives with a limp caused by his club foot. Joachim von Ribbentrop, a former champagne merchant, now Minister of Foreign Affairs. His years in England have made him an expert at holding a cup of tea. In Hitler's office, Ribbentrop shows the fruits of his visit to Moscow. A photo, taken by Hoffman, of the signing of the Soviet-German Non-Aggression Pact. The treaty causes a shock both among communists and Nazis. Hitler explains that it is to their advantage to become temporary allies with Stalin and avoid a war on two fronts like they had in 1914. The pact will clear the path for Hitler. September 1st, 1939, Hitler orders his armies to attack Poland. Poland's allies, Britain and France, declare war on Germany. Like all Germans, Eva Braun is worried. But Hitler reassures her. The war will only last 3 months. He keeps his promise. In 3 weeks, the Blitzkrieg, or literally the Lightning War, brings Hitler to the gates of Warsaw, which he bombs with no other reason than to impress the British and French, who don't budge to aid Poland. A German occupation administration is immediately set up, and the hunt for Jews begins. They will live a hellish existence that we can never fully imagine. Rarely in the history of mankind has such a horror been inflicted on a people. Men, women, and children are forced into the Warsaw Ghetto. Separated from the outside world by a wall, the Jews are reduced to famine. Some rise up in revolt, a few will survive, but most are killed at Treblinka, where they are gassed, then burned. And all the while, Eva Braun, with a cruel indifference to Nazi barbarism, worries about her figure. She's secure in knowing she belongs to the master race. She glides carefree above the misery. Eva Braun is in harmony with the rest of Germany's indoctrinated and fascinated population, who wakes up each day to the thought, how happy I am to not be a Jew. Winter, 1939-1940. Eva Braun films. Hitler takes long walks with Speer and talks about his hidden passion, architecture. They want to make Berlin the world's most beautiful city. It will be rebaptized Germania. Meanwhile, back at the front, French troops still haven't moved. The French call this the phony war. The Germans call it the Sitzkrieg, or the sitting war. Hitler prepares the attack against France. In the Nazi culture, spring is a time of festivities. The Nazis instituted a new rite for the Easter period, which celebrated nature's renewal and Hitler's birthday. At the Berghof, Eva Braun directs her film of the festivity. Speer and Bormann's children hunt for Easter eggs in the enormous greenhouse, where Hitler grows all the vegetables needed for his strictly vegetarian diet. Like all German women, Eva Braun dreams of having children. Hitler's propaganda insists frantically that women should provide future generations of the pure German race and new soldiers for his army. 5 million young Germans will die for Hitler. April 20th, 1940. Hitler turns 51. The first to congratulate him are Heinrich Hoffmann, his personal physician, Dr. Morell, his secretary, Gerda Christian, his World War I companion, Max Amann, and the Bormann couple. Eva Braun shoots her great documentary to be shown after the victory. She will present the loyal inner circle, Hitler's humble servants, cooks, chambermaids, and their children. And one day they'll say to their own children, "I was once touched by Hitler himself." But the moment is one of concern. Germany's at war. Hitler expects a tough fight. Ever since Verdun, there is great respect for the French army. May 10th, 1940. Hitler launches his offensive against France. He has imposed a risky plan on his general. June 28, 1940, at dawn, Hitler arrives in Paris. Speaking to German journalists, he says, "It's a very beautiful city, but Berlin will be better."
La Madeleine. Place de la Concorde. Der Triumphbogen. Trocadero. Ein Blick auf den Eiffelturm. Links vom Führer Professor Speer.
Berlin, July 14th, 1940. Hitler is triumphant. Among the millions of letters he receives, a German writes, "Dear Führer, victory is in all our hearts. Paris has been conquered. The oeuvre is now complete. My Führer, we trust in you. The nation says it's the Führer who decides. I send you all my gratitude and my deepest love. From her room in the Chancellery, Eva Braun films Hitler's triumph. 10 years ago, she met a minor right-wing agitator. Now, he's become master of the world. He's off again, this time to finish with Great Britain. On the Normandy shore, he orders preparations for the invasion of England, but the operation will never take place. What Hitler wants is to get rid of his worst enemy, whom he calls that drunk Churchill. Hitler sends his bombers. And so begins the Battle of Britain. And all the while, at the Berghof, Eva Braun changes clothes 6 times a day and gives away dresses to her sisters. The Führers returned, accompanied, as always, by Speer. Hitler spends 2/3 of his time at the Berghof, where he feels the safest. At night, he often watches movies. Late at night, Eva Braun shows her erotic movies. These are the most revealing images of Eva Braun. She shows off the only thing that interests her, her body. Hitler rarely goes to bed before 3 a.m. and is woken up around noon. He eats a frugal breakfast and takes long walks with his principal advisors. Here, he's with Ribbentrop. They speak about the war and their next strategic moves in the east. Hitler wants to conquer the lands to the east and give them to the German people. He contemplates this table-shaped mountain. In German folklore, it's said to be the site of the tomb of Frederick Barbarossa, the great German emperor. Barbarossa is the name Hitler chooses for his plan to invade the Soviet Union. Hitler's extremely worried about the Soviet winter, so he'll wait until spring to launch the offensive. July 1940. Eva Braun is as always unconcerned with world turmoil. Camera at the ready, she and her family travel in the Führer's transport plane, a giant Focke-Wulf 200 Condor. It will be shot down 4 years later while carrying Christmas presents from Hitler to his troops. For this 1940 trip, Hitler has assigned his personal pilot, Hans Bauer.
Ich liebe das Leben und hab den Männern viel zu geben.
This film is a rare testimony of the atmosphere inside Hitler's personal plane.
Was ich tun muss.
Large, tastefully colored veloured seats. Nothing is too good for the Führer's friends. And Eva Braun's parents are now included among those happy few. They're now pleased with their daughter's success. German officers and diplomats receive her as if she were the Führer's ambassador. Eva Braun spends her vacation at the Hotel Splendido in Portofino. It's the chicest location and frequented by the stars. What a pleasure to swim in the warm surf while Europe agonizes and England withstands German bombs. This will be Eva Braun's last vacation. Early 1941, she films Hitler with SS General Sepp Dietrich, one of the most brutal Nazi military chiefs, and one of the most brilliant too. Like millions of other German soldiers, Dietrich prepares for the mortal combat against Stalin. The plan is entirely mapped out, down to the smallest detail. The Blitzkrieg should swiftly wipe out the Russians. A last goodbye to Gretel Braun, Eva's younger sister, who Sepp Dietrich appears to be interested in. A final farewell to Speer's children, and he's off. There won't be any declaration of war. As a result of the surprise strategy, Stalin takes several days to react. This lost time allows the Germans to advance 620 miles and capture 3 million prisoners, most of whom will die of starvation. Hitler, accompanied by Himmler, congratulates Sepp Dietrich and awards him with another Iron Cross. Hitler's rapid advance into Russia means he can launch another part of his plan. Several million Jews live in this region. They now must be exterminated. He orders Himmler to immediately form groups of killers. The Einsatzgruppen. One unit will be under the orders of the young General Fegelein. In the first months of the offensive, the Einsatzgruppen murder over 500,000 innocent civilians by hanging, shooting, and gassing them using the exhaust from trucks. Hitler fails to take Moscow. It's his first defeat. He returns to the Berghof, seeking comfort from his dog. His troops, first stuck in the autumn mud and then in winter snows, die by the thousands because their commander hasn't provided warm enough clothing. Eva, though, is happier and happier. Hitler has grown close to her. Her friends now call her the chief's wife. The following year, Hitler leaves again, traveling to the Eastern Front aboard his special train. He's decided that the Russians must be defeated once and for all. He unites the largest army in history, amassing the most planes and tanks ever brought together. The Soviet enemy is showing itself to be tougher than expected. This time, his strategy is to pierce their southern front, marching toward the oil refineries and the city of Stalingrad. Eva Braun spends the season without Hitler's company. She's alone at the Berghof, so she invites her friends. She films a pretty unknown girl who looks at her rather gaily. She films the children. Herta Schneider, her best friend from school days, is visiting with hers. Eva Braun still dreams of becoming a mother. But she's heard Hitler say some very unencouraging things about having a family. Children of a genius, he says in all modesty, have great difficulties in life. They're always cretins. Hitler kills those whom he calls cretins. In his empire, the handicapped are sent to the gas chambers. Films are shown to impress on the Germans the need for state-employed euthanasia. Useless mouths must be eliminated. Christmas 1942. The 6th Army agonizes outside Stalingrad, while Hitler obligingly allows Eva Braun to film him surrounded by children. Touching them reassures him. His great offensive has failed. 200,000 German soldiers are dead or have been taken prisoner by the Red Army. Eva Braun doesn't let it worry her. More than ever, she's confident of a Nazi victory. Like many Germans, she believes that the situation will be turned around by secret Nazi weapons, like the V-2 rocket. Here, Himmler inspects one at the Peenemünde site on the Baltic coast. He has them built by deportees who live in atrocious conditions. But the rocket is not yet perfected. Since Speer has become the Minister of Armaments, he's displayed exceptional organizational qualities. Despite the Allied bombings, he's produced more tanks and planes than in 1940. Hitler looks very tired. His mustache has turned white, and his skin is pale. Dr. Morell injects him with something to keep him going. Hitler's lips indicate that he's saying, "You should stop filming an old man like me. You're the one who should be filmed." He delivers interminable monologues. They're his table talks, and Bormann writes them down with care. In 1943, Hitler says, "The worst event for humanity is Christianity. Communism is the child of Christianity, and all this was invented by the Jews." Germany's crumbling beneath the bombs. Nothing can save it any longer. He can't win his war, but he can still kill. He's determined to complete his mission, to eliminate the Jews. The final solution, the extermination of all Jews, enters its maniacal phase. Freight trains crammed with humans steam towards the gas chambers and crematoriums. 6 million men, women, and children are assassinated. In hundreds of camps, millions of people die of hunger and beatings. 50 million people are killed in this war. A few days before the Allied troops land on the Normandy beaches, Hitler arranges that Gretel Braun, Eva's sister, will marry the SS General Fegelein, one of the murderous commanders of the Einsatzgruppen. The witnesses are Bormann and Himmler, who has the groom drink from a Grail cup, an SS ceremonial rite. Fegelein is Himmler's adjutant. Fegelein's entry into Hitler's inner circle is one step closer to the SS achieving complete control over the Reich. Gretel's all dressed up because she's going to meet the Fuhrer. Hitler also hoped the marriage would help Eva Braun remain patient. She had told him, "I want this marriage to be as beautiful as if it were my own." Eva Braun's parents attend, but her older sister Ilse does not. She was in love with a Jew and can hardly hide her contempt for Hitler. Eva Braun told Ilse, "If you continue like this, you'll end up in a concentration camp and I won't be able to do anything for you," which indicates that she knows. Eva Braun's loyal friend Herta brings her children. They add tenderness to the event. Gretel will give birth to a girl and name her Eva. At 25, Eva will commit suicide. Gretel will not remain with Fegelein for long. 6 months later, Hitler will have this killer executed for treason. Afterwards, they all go up to the Eagle's Nest for the last time. These are the last images filmed by Eva Braun. Hitler will leave for Berlin. Allied bombs fall day and night, and the Russians have the city circled. He forbids Eva Braun from joining him. She is safe in Munich, where the American forces will soon arrive. But she disobeys him and rejoins him in the bunker. He marries her, and they both commit suicide. The inhabitants of Berchtesgaden loot Eva Braun's belongings, as well as the provisions. The Berghof was bombed heavily, and nothing much is left of Eva Braun's film set. Eva Braun remains a German mystery. She loved Hitler, and so did Germany. Germany and the world descended the steps to hell. Eva Braun, like so many others, closed her eyes. She never had the slightest regret. On the contrary, she did all she could to leave a record of those 13 years spent by Hitler's side. When she felt that the end was near, She had all her films stored in a safe place. Today, they allow us to enter into Hitler's private life, as seen through the eyes of the woman who was in love with Adolf Hitler.